Hey everyone, and welcome back to Ontario Cryptids. Today we will continue with the second part of SasquatchAngie's habituation experiences. I will start with a few questions that were asked and then proceed with two other posts that Angie uploaded to Reddit. I will leave a link to her subreddit called LivingSasquatch. Also, I have an odd occurrence to share with you at the end of this clip, so stick around. And it has to do with me putting this episode together. Okay, if you have an encounter story that you would like to share, then please forward your stories to OntarioCryptids@gmail.com. I'd be honored to share your story with like-minded people. Now sit back and relax as we begin with today's episode. Question: do you have any theories as to what their purpose here is? Also, many accounts go into telepathic communication. Did your communication extend beyond the vocal good morning you heard? Well, that's a mighty big question. My personal belief is that they are the natural inhabitants of this planet and we are the transplant. Yes, I had some mind-speak experiences. It's hard to explain. It's like you get connected. It's not just speaking, it's all over, even in your gut. It's like you share the feeling connected to a thought. Like when they started bulldozing, I wasn't aware of it, but I got hit with a strong feeling of fear and anxiety. That drove me outside to see what was the matter. Then I followed the sound, booming knocks coming from the woods. The knocks were like a slow drum beat. They could be easily heard through the sound of machinery. When I got close to the knocking, I could see the machines tearing down the trees. There was nothing I could do to stop the destruction. Question: what was the aggressive behavior? Answer: growling, tree crashing, destruction of property. They would also throw things. They jumped on my roof and they pulled wires loose. They also learned to unplug the spotlights I placed everywhere. Questions: did any of the paranormal activities involve lights? Answer: yes, glowing white lights. This also involved a UFO. I am 63 years old and I have never seen a UFO until the Sasquatch came. This UFO took up the whole sky above my house. There was a great wind with it. The Sasquatch came hurrying up to the swamp area and their eyes were glowing bright light. They seemed afraid, but not sure. I ran back into the house to get a camera. When I returned, it was gone, but I could see its lights moving, so I followed it as long as I could, trying to get the pictures. Before I knew it, I was across the field and it was dark. Trees started crashing in the woods near me. I don't like being in the dark so far from home, so I started back across the field. I was mostly looking down so I wouldn't trip. My phone had run out of charge. As I neared the woodline near my house, I looked up into the trees. There were 4 really big, bright white lights in the trees. I wanted to go to them. They seemed to be smiling at me. For some reason, I just didn't. I returned to the house. Later that night, military choppers swooped all across the woods. They were low and shook the windows in my house. This is one of the weirdest things that has ever happened to me, and I was totally unaware of it at the time. Early in my discovery of Sasquatch, I was going into the woods every day and taking pictures. Then I would go back to the house to look through them. I was usually alone, but on this day, I took one of my dogs with me. When I got home and I looked through the pictures, this picture shocked me. Who took it? Notice my dog in the background with her tail between her legs? I have no memory of anything happening to me. I live in a rural area that's being invaded by housing development. Hundreds of acres are being bulldozed in areas where Sasquatch had a home. That's probably why they were on my property to begin with back in 2017. At the time, I was surrounded by woodland and swampy areas, making my little piece of property seem bigger than it was because it was just woodland and seemed to go on forever. There are ponds and creeks on my property, a vast array of berries, grapes, pawpaws, mushrooms, etc., and a lot of deer. Plenty of deer because there's a lot of crop fields rotating between sweet potatoes, soya beans, and corn. The deer eat their fill of corn. It amazes me that Sasquatch can adapt so quickly to their changing environment. The clan that occupied my woods and surrounding area had to move on, but still the Sasquatch come. They don't stay long and they're very quiet, but there are still Sasquatch that frequent my little patch of woods. Most of them I don't know, but every once in a while I get a communication that I know is coming from one of the originals. There's houses all around my property now, and people are already living there. There are no trees, only houses. I wonder if these people are aware that Sasquatch move across their yards at night, that Sasquatch are watching them. Probably not a clue. Hi, I just felt a strong desire to talk Sasquatch this morning. A clan or large family group lived on my property from 2017 to late 2020. They were able to sustain themselves because my property was surrounded by hundreds and hundreds of acres of mostly woodland and swamp. The bulldozers and developers destroyed all of that wilderness. Sasquatch had to relocate. I know where some of them are, but not all. I still have visitors on a pretty regular basis as they travel through going somewhere else. Anyways, I wanted to comment about how different Sasquatch behavior is when they move onto established homelands versus meeting them in the wild. I don't think people understand how very different Sasquatch behave when they move into your backyard. Some stories I've read tell a very aggressive Sasquatch wanting inhabitants to leave. Sasquatch can make life unbearable. They can be ruthless. I experienced some of that. It could have ended very badly, but I changed my behavior and things improved. I was honored to get a glimpse of Sasquatch life, even made some friends. They gifted me often. The first gift was a fresh kill, rabbit. After that, feathers, arrowheads, and turtle shells. In return, I let them just be. I didn't prune my bushes. I was careful about making drastic changes they might see as a threat. I talked to them even when I couldn't see them, but I knew they were there. They would send a scent or something to let me know that they were present. To people who have never encountered Sasquatch, my story sounds unbelievable. I get that. Even when they were in my face, so to speak, I tried to convince myself I wasn't seeing what I was actually seeing. I had zero thoughts about Sasquatch prior to my encounter, not even a blimp on my radar. In fact, I considered ancient native spirits were waking up. I had no way of explaining the weird things that kept happening each time I went into the woods. They made me acknowledge them. They did so because they were moving in. They had observed me a long time before interacting. They were both kind and cruel to me. They communicated in a variety of ways. We coexisted peacefully unless something happened to make them feel threatened or was against their rules. Maybe rules isn't the best term. How about boundaries? They set their boundaries. I would know by how they reacted. They let me know when I overstepped their boundaries. They might growl or crash trees or throw things. These are not friendly communication. These are warnings that a line has been crossed. I also got very strong feelings. Everything about them is massive, even emotions. They have the ability to instill fear, but there's another side. After we resolved our conflict and started to get comfortable, they sent me comfort when I needed it and kindness. There is a real big bush in the backyard where a mother and her 2 young ones would stay. I walked past that bush every day. I always greeted them. Sometimes they would send me so much feelings that I would be doubled over. So much love, or what felt like love. It would hit me right in my gut. It would spread like warm tentacles. Sometimes it made me just start crying. It was that overpowering. Yes, I have seen them. The ones that lived around me were covered in black hair. There was a red one for a while, but he moved on way before the others. The adults are massive. It seems the males are bigger than the females, but this might not always be the case because there are different types of Sasquatches. Their eyes are kind of deep set, but not like an ape. Their nose is flatter than ours in general, but again, not like an ape. The biggest difference between an ape and a Sasquatch is below the nose. An ape's mouth just slopes down from the nose. The upper lip is not really defined. A Sasquatch is more like us. We have a flat descent into our upper lip, and our upper lip is distinctively different from the skin between our nose and mouth. The Sasquatch face doesn't slope like an ape's face. Their jawlines are more like ours. They do have a slight cone shape on top of their head. Their body shape is more like ours too. Sasquatch walk upright. Apes mostly use all fours. Sasquatch legs are much longer than an ape's and built for bipedal being. They are still master tree climbers and will sometimes stalk on all fours. Some folks say they have 2 rows of teeth like the giants. This, I just don't know. I do have some stories. Some are kind of funny, some are serious, some are pure woo. Sasquatch have different personalities just like us. The juveniles are very active in the daytime and like to cause mischief. One in particular, I named him Pinecone. He liked to shock me. He was cocky and full of himself, so much like our teenagers. They are able to come into my house totally undetected, not in physical form. They have come into my house and gifted me. They can come into your dreams. They can make the wind blow around you. They can put ideas into your head or thoughts. They can send emotions into you. Fear isn't the only emotion. They have sent me love that made me double over when it hit. All Sasquatches are not the same. Some have greater abilities than others. This is what I'm after in my quest to understand them. Do they have to reach a certain age to acquire these special skills? Is there a ritual? Do only elders have these skills? There are watchers in the trees during the day. There are certain areas they don't want people to enter, and they can send that signal to warn you away. I always leave if I get that feeling. My most precious memory is when a clan elder came into my dream and made me an orb. This was an out-of-body experience. I was an orb way up in the treetops. He was talking to me, but I was overwhelmed with joy and freedom. I could move just without a thought. I was connected to all living things. I felt such joy I can't find words. He sent me back with a wave of his hand. I fought the descent back into my body. I saw my hands materialize as I clawed to stop the descent. It was awful being put back into skin and bones, almost revolting. I don't gift food, I gift special things to them like beautiful crystals. In the spring, when my flowers bloom, I pick some of them and stick their stems through the leaves on certain bushes. I decorate the bushes with flowers. They really like that. They eat turtle, grapes, berries, mushroom, pawpaws, and grub. They also like watermelon. Again, I never thought about Sasquatch before they showed up. I've heard about them through National Geographic shows. I could believe they might have existed, but only in the high mountains far away from people. When I finally figured out Sasquatch were in my backyard, I did kind of freak out. It was amazing to me. I was fascinated. I wanted to tell everyone. I wanted the scientists to come and verify to the world that Sasquatch exists. I got on Facebook and joined every Bigfoot group I could find. But I had to have pictures. Everyone would believe me if I had a picture. So I started taking pictures every day for several hours a day. The Sasquatches tolerated me for a while and then clapped back hard. I got myself in serious trouble, ended up surrounded with a very angry male ready to charge me. Then a real nightmare began. They started attacking my house at night and terrorizing me during the day. They singled me out. I was the only one who knew where they were. I was more alone then than I ever been in my life. I knew they could just get to me one day. There was no one to save me. No one would ever find me. That's when it became very real to me. It was almost like a game before that. I will never get over it. Each time I tell my story, it gets easier. I gain better perspective. The fear subsides a little more. But Sasquatch is not a game. I don't go out at night trying to find them. I don't harass them in any way. I would never do anything to make them angry with me again. Never. Once we got past the conflict, we slowly became very comfortable with each other. I made some friends. I loved learning something new every day. I felt honored by their interaction. It became a sacred thing to me. They will always be welcome here. I will always show them respect and provide safe haven. I think there are many stories we don't hear about. Not everyone uses social media, and many fear the mockery. Another tangent is that the closer you become with Sasquatch, the less you share. Interactions are more meaningful when you go to them electronic-free and gun-free. When Sasquatch first arrived, I went to mankind for help. I put the voices of men above my own instincts and nature. I hate to say it, but I made the wrong choice. I write this as menfolk are telling me that the wind made X's all over the woods. I'm on my own journey, and I'm at peace. The abnormal has become normal to me. Fear doesn't consume me anymore, and I got along without mankind just fine. I'd like to be able to share, as it is in my nature, but I'm okay taking it to my grave too. It's been nothing but a gift to me. Knowledge is growth. I'm just gonna keep on growing. Angie, a big thank you to you for sharing your incredible story with the OC community. I loved hearing your interaction with them. I hope you keep on growing and finding your truth. And you are so right. Often we have the answers within ourselves if we just listen to them. In other words, listen to your instincts. If you have any questions for Angie, maybe you can hold them for the live stream that will be coming soon. Angie has agreed to join me on my next live stream. Now here's a really weird occurrence that happened while I was putting together this episode. As I was copying the post I had titled Zapped, I was surprised that a singular picture was pasted along with that one post. Now this picture was not selected in my selected items to copy. When you look at the picture, it looks like a young one is holding a camera in its hand. I will post a picture here. Really weird. Like the picture was telling me that they took the picture of Angie when she was zapped. If these stories reminded you of an encounter that you may have had and would like to share, then please forward your stories to OntarioCryptids@gmail.com. I would be honored to share your story on this channel. Thank you all for listening until the end. I truly appreciate it. Please hit the like button on your way out and smash the subscribe button if you're new to my channel. Have a great weekend, and I hope to see you all next week right here on Ontario Cryptids.